Hi, I'm John Kreider from Thor Motor Coach, and I'm here to talk to you about your new motorhome. So you just went to the dealership, you picked it up, and now you're at home and you're wondering, all right, what is everything that they told me at the dealership on how I need to operate my vehicle? That's what we want to talk about today. We're going to start here with a Class C model. This could be a Four Winds or this could be a Chateau. The outline of exactly what we're going to do is going to be the same from product to product. But before we get started, a couple things to mention. First of all, before starting on any trip or looking through anything, we would recommend that you look at the owner's manual. And of course, inside of your vehicle, there will be a black bag that looks like this. It says Thor Motor Coach on the front. And if you unzip that bag, you're going to reach inside and you're going to see a whole bunch of owner's manuals. And those owner's manuals will take you through everything that you have installed in the vehicle. But of course, the one we want you to definitely pay attention to is the one that says owner's manuals. Or owner's manual. This is the one that we provide and goes through a whole list of everything on how the coach works, but also some of the things that you need to be aware of before you start camping. The other thing that you may be inside of your owner's manual is the warranty guide. And the warranty guide, of course, talks about all the coverages that you have on your vehicle, and you want to make sure that you review this so you know exactly what you have to do to make sure that you maintain the warranty on your vehicle. Inside of that pack, you're going to see multiple user cards or owner cards. You'll want to fill those out and send those into the individual manufacturers, so that way you make sure you have warranty coverage on all of the individual components of the vehicle. One of the other things that we like to talk about before you really get camping is we want to talk about loading and limitations. And so this vehicle has a certain gross vehicle weight rating. Some people call that the GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating. It also has a gross combined weight rating, which is a GCWR. The GCWR talks about what the coach weighs and then how much you can tow. That's your combined weight. But you also have then, of course, the GVWR is how much you put inside of the vehicle and carry going down the road. Those are important aspects that you need to pay attention to make sure that you don't overload your vehicle. You do have specific axle ratings, and you do have tire pressure. We're going to show you in a little bit here when we go around to the other side of the vehicle exactly where all this information is located as far as what the vehicle can weigh, how many seat belts you have included inside the vehicle. You'll also see exactly what your load range should be on your tires so you know what to do. And that's real important before you get going, that you make sure that your tires are in the right air pressure. And then last but not least, it is up to you to make sure that you get your coach aligned once you have your vehicle loaded. When we align them here at the factory, it's unloaded. When you get it and you load everything down, it's going to drive a little bit different than it did when it left here. So now, one of the things that you'll want to do is you'll want to go out and get the coach aligned, and that's one of the things that we recommend. You'll find that in your owner's manual. And the reason we recommend that is so you don't have premature tire wear after just a few thousand miles because the coach isn't aligned correctly for the load that you have. So, that being said, let's put our manuals back inside here. Before any trip, the first thing that we want to do before anything is turn on the battery. And when we see turn on the battery, there is a switch inside the door, and inside this door, it's a manual rotary switch. It says on and off. It's that simple. We simply turn it to on. Now, when I turn the batteries on, that means everything in the coach will be working as far as the charging system, the battery system, if you have an inverter, the inverter system. I want to leave that battery on the whole entire time I'm using the vehicle. Really, the only time I ever want to turn that battery off is if I'm going to store this away for long periods of time. No matter whether you turn the battery off and leave it, there's always a little bit of a parasitic draw for the different memory components inside of the vehicle, whether it's the dash radio or it's the microwave or the converter that take a little bit of power from the batteries. If you put this into storage for a long time and you don't want those batteries to run down, you're going to need to disconnect the battery, physically disconnect the battery to make sure that you don't have any kind of draw. Otherwise, I would recommend that if you have areas where you're storing the vehicle, if you can just plug into a simple 15 amp circuit like you would have at your home in your garage, that will help maintain the battery system even through the winter months. So if you put this away for winter, plug it in, that's going to be your best option. If you can't plug it in, then you're going to disconnect the battery physically. That battery disconnect, when it stays on, that means when I drive down the road, I'm charging the batteries. That means when I'm running the generator, I'm charging the batteries. And it is a bi-directional system. So that means that when the engine is running, the alternator charges the chassis battery and then the house batteries. And then when the generator is running or you're plugged into shore power, now you're charging the house batteries and then flowing over and charging the chassis battery. It's really the way that you make sure that everything in your vehicle stays running, and we want to make sure that we leave that battery on. On the outside of the vehicle, we have quite a few things to talk about. As we work our way down the side, you'll see the first thing is your patio awning. Now your patio awning is set up to be able to give you shade when you're outside. It's also able to protect you in light rain, but in heavy rain we recommend that you don't actually have the awning out. The awning is fabric, it's a vinyl, it actually could be damaged if you get really, really bad wind, but if it's just light rain, you can leave it out, protects your patio area, and this gives you a place where you can camp. And so this awning right here, it comes from Lippert and it's electric, and so it's real simple. Kind of in the same area on the inside here where we turned our battery on, there's going to be an area where we can extend and retract the awning. So once I have my battery on and I get ready to do it, there's an awning switch in here, and I simply just push the button, and when I push the button, awning extends out. Once the awning extends all the way out, you're going to see that we have complete coverage. And now with this awning, you can continue to hold the button, you can roll it out, you can roll it back in. It is something that you do have to hold the button down, so it's not automatic, so don't just push it once and think that it's going to continue to go out. Once it goes all the way out, then we also have the option to turn the lights on. Now the lights can be turned on whether or not the awning is actually out, and there's a button right next to it, and you can see there we've got some LED lights that actually light up the side. It's really nice at nighttime because the lights are nice and high, so you don't have to worry about bugs being around your door. But on top of that, you also have the ability to turn the lights off when the awning is out or when the awning's in. So if you get to an area where you can't put your awning out but you still want some patio light over here, turn the lights on and it'll light up right there. The other thing we can mention is with the awning, it does have some adjustability. Now on this particular awning, you can see that there is a sticker here that says pull down to adjust pitch. So there could be times a day where the sun's coming in at a certain angle, or maybe you've got a little bit of water or condensation on top and you want to get that off the top. All you've got to do is come to this hinge point right here and pull straight down. And if you pull straight down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my awning and I'm actually going to tilt it. So that way water will run off in one direction, or maybe the sun's coming in, you want it to be a little bit lower. I can do that on one side, I can do it on both sides. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. If you just want your awning to come down to give you more shade as the sun starts to go down in the evening or when the sun's coming up in the morning, you can adjust both sides. The other nice thing about it is too, is you don't have to remember to go back and put this back in. If you start to roll your awning in and you forgot about this, the system will actually take and it will automatically put this back in the position that it needs to be. It'll get itself all set back up, and when it'll roll back in, and then when it rolls back out, it'll be in the original position that it started. Your entry door, you do have two locks on it. So on your keychain, there are two different keys. There's a key for the top, and there's a key for the bottom. The key for the top is a deadbolt. That's just like at your house, it'll deadbolt. That is your most secure way to keep the door locked and obviously keep people in or out. And then you've got your handle latch. The handle latch is, obviously it just locks the handle. It's not quite as secure, but it does give you that quick ability to go in and out of the vehicle without having to do both latches. And so you have two keys. You have to make sure that you have the two different keys if you want to lock both locks. Another thing that you'll notice is that you do have some different locks and you do have some different compartments. On this particular model, you can see we do have an exterior entertainment center. So the exterior entertainment center includes 32-inch TV, or some models may have a 40-inch TV, and then it also includes a sound bar. Now, the great thing about this is now you can enjoy whatever you've got going inside. If you're a tailgater and you like to take and watch TV, you can do that. And if you got people all around, this is on a swivel bracket. So, you want to take and you want to angle it to the back of the coach because the sun's coming in from the front, great. You want to take and angle it to the back, that's fine too. Or you can just leave it in. The door that's located up above there kind of works as an awning, so if you can't put your awning out at the top, this keeps it up there. And then you also have a sound bar. Now, the nice thing about this sound bar, two things. First of all, it's Bluetooth enabled. So if you want to bring your cell phone out here, you've got a tablet and you want to hook up to this and have some music out underneath the camp area, great, go for it. You can connect it there. If you're just looking for some extra volume out of the TV, you know, you're out there tailgating on a Saturday afternoon at a college football game and things start to get loud and you want to turn the volume up a little bit, it's connected to the TV, so now you can turn it up. The other thing is too is it also has an FM radio built in. So now if maybe the game isn't on the TV but you want to have something else going, turn on the FM radio and you've got something local. So you got a lot of different options there. Storage compartments. There is a gray key. So when you look at your keychain and you look at the keys, you've got a gray key. The gray key is what actually fits this lock. flip down the door here, you can see Rotocast storage compartments. Great thing about these, they're plastic. If you spill something inside, you can simply spray it out or wipe it out. You don't have to worry about carpet, mold, anything like that. It's not steel, it's not gonna rust. And then every storage compartment has its own light. So whether it's nighttime or daytime when you're unloading, you've got the ability to turn the lights on or off. If we work our way down the sidewall here a little bit, there's a few things that you might notice on the outside and not know exactly what they are, so let's point them out. First of all, this right here, this is your furnace, all right? This is what heats the motorhome in the wintertime. Now, a couple of things. We always have to be careful because there are a couple of exhaust outlets on some of these different things that do get hot. So keep in mind that if you've got something close to this outlet and it says hot on it, so we know that it's going to be hot, in the wintertime, you're going to see that that's hot. Depending on your floor plan will determine exactly where this furnace is located. So it could be on the campsite here, or it could be on the off-camp side. It really depends on the floor plan. This area here, this is your refrigerator. Now, there's not too much that you'll have to do as far as any of these components go, but there are a few things. So if you ever have to get to your refrigerator, you can use a key, you can use a quarter, any kind of a coin that you have in your pocket. You can take and you can turn these little notches right here. And once you turn those notches, this allows you to get into the back of your refrigerator. Now, why would you need to get in the back of the refrigerator? Most times you won't. But if you did, or if you were talking to someone and your refrigerator wasn't working, they were asking you to look at certain things, this is where the plug is for your 110 volt for the refrigerator itself. It's also where the igniter and everything else is for the gas absorption side of the refrigerator. Now, this particular motorhome has a gas absorption refrigerator that runs off of 110 volt and it runs off of LP. We do have some models that will have a residential refrigerator. In the case of the residential refrigerator, you won't have this on the outside because the residential refrigerator doesn't vent to the outside. So just know that that could be different between the models and might look a little different. If you need to get this back on, it's real simple. This little drain tube here, we just feed through the opening here, and once we get it through the opening, we can put it back in place by putting the top tabs in first, lining up the bottom tabs, and once we line those up, we can just twist them and put it back in place. A little bit further down here, this right here, this is your water heater. Now, some models have tanked water heaters and some models have tankless water heaters. The outside looks pretty much the same, but what's on the inside is a little different. So there's a little tab here. We take this tab, we can rotate it. Doesn't matter if you go clockwise or counterclockwise. And this gives you access to the inside. Why would you need access to the inside? Well, you might be somebody who wants to winterize your coach. You might be somebody who has to drain the tank. So on a tank model, you can see here, this is the little tank drain valve. So if you want to winterize this coach and you don't want to have to put antifreeze, or you're going to put antifreeze in it and you want to make sure that all the water's out, that's where the drain is. This is also where the pilot light is at, and this is where the igniter and the gas feed and everything is. So there's some instructions here about some general water heater information. All of that is contained in this area. The likelihood that you have to get to it is low, but if you do, or if you need to talk to a service person somewhere down the road, this is where the water heater is located. To close that back up, we just align the tab, put it back in place, and once we get it back in place, pull, twist, and we got it back. This little circle right here, the reason that circle is included here is so you can look through there and see if the pilot light is lit. So you can see if there's actually a flame going without actually getting inside. That's what the little circle is for. Above this, you can see on this particular model, this is our gravity water fill. So you have a holding tank on board of this motorhome. It lets you be fully self-contained. So you can fill up that water tank. Once you fill up that water tank, now everything inside of the motorhome will run while you're running down the road. So whether you're stopped on the side of the road at a rest stop, whether you're at the campground and you don't have a water hookup, you're self-contained, you can do it. So you take your garden hose from your house, or you take your fresh water hose that you bought for your motorhome, because we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, and you fill this up. And inside of the motorhome, you'll find that there's a monitor system that allows you to figure out when the tank is full. But really the easiest way is you fill this up with water, and once you start to see a little bit of water start to come out of this little vent hole, you'll know that the tank is full, because that's the overflow vent to make sure that you don't overfill the tank. You do have a pair of electrical outlets, and sometimes these are in different locations, but there will be a pair here on the passenger side. Those are 110 volt outlets. So if you want to plug in some lights, or maybe you got a slow cooker, or maybe you have a griddle that you take outside that you want to run, cook up some breakfast for everybody in the morning, that's what these are located here for. Another thing that we'll talk about while we're down here is let's talk about these tires, okay? So these tires, they run at a higher pressure than most of your automobiles do. So maybe your automobile runs 35 to 40 PSI. These are gonna run more in that 70 to 80 PSI. And it's very important that we make sure that we check the air pressure, especially on the inner dual tire. That is the one thing that is the most problematic as far as people looking at their tires and making sure the air pressure is correct. So we do have some extensions in here that allow you to check the inner dual, and it's always important that you check the inner dual and the outer dual and make sure that their pressures are very similar. What we don't want is we don't want the tires when you're driving down the road, if the air pressure is too small, that the sidewalls come together or get too close and create heat. That is an opportunity for one of the tires to fail, especially if your tire is too low. So make sure that you keep your tire pressure up. Not only is it good as far as the loading of the coach goes, but it's also good for fuel economy. The higher pressure these tires run, you're going to get less resistance as far as they roll on the ground, which is going to help your fuel economy. And let's face it, we could all save a couple bucks as we get a few more miles per gallon. We do have another storage compartment that we work our way down here, and depending on your configuration, it's going to be storage. We got our lights on the inside. This is the exhaust pipe for the engine. This particular model is here. Other sides it might be on the other side. And then in a lot of models we have a big storage compartment in the back. Now on some of these bigger storage compartments that go up against the sidewall, you'll see some little clips that are off to the side. You simply pull up on that clip, put the door back, and it holds it. So that's going to keep it out of your way. This is rotocast, just like we saw in some of the other compartments, and that rotocast is going to be great because you can clean it out. You don't have to worry about anything. If you spill something in there, if you get sand in there, it's going to clean out, it's going to vacuum. Everything that you're going to do is going to be easily accessible inside of this area. All right, around here in the back, you can see that you've got a few things. First, up at the top, you'll see a backup monitor. So if your coach is equipped with a backup monitor, you may not even know it's there because we've done a nice job of integrating it into the light bar. And so that's actually your camera that's located up there. The camera is set up so every time you go in reverse, the camera will turn on. There's also a way that you can manually turn it on inside of the vehicle. So if you're driving down the road, you want to make sure that there's not a car behind you, or you have a vehicle that you're towing, or you've got a trailer, you can turn that on manually. You can look at it through the monitor to make sure that whatever you've got back there is still back there. You've also got your tail lights and your running lights, and of course we want to make sure that we check those on a daily basis because we want to make sure that we're being safe going down the road. So a light check is going to be something you're going to want to do, not just when you hook up a vehicle or a trailer, but on a daily basis. Let's just make sure that we're being safe as we go down the road. You've also got your bumper here, and underneath the bumper you do have your trailer hitch. Now, the trailer hitch is set up for 8,000 pounds. That is the maximum capacity of the trailer hitch on this Ford or Chevy-based Class C 4 or Chateau. You've got a connector back here in the back, and depending on the model, it's either a 4 flat or a 7-way round. On the Chevys, they all come with the 4 flat. On the Fords, they come with a 7-way round. Thing back here, though, that we have to make sure of is we need to make sure on that GCWR that we're not towing more than what the vehicle is capable of towing. So you need to look at the difference between the gross vehicle weight rating and the gross combined weight rating to make sure that whatever you're towing doesn't exceed. The other thing is, too, is we have to look at tongue weight. So this hitch right here has a certain amount of tongue weight that it can handle. You can't overload the tongue weight because that puts more weight actually on the rear axle of the vehicle, which means that you could be overweight on the GVWR or the axle capacity, even though your trailer behind you is well under exactly what you have as far as the hitch rating is going. So the hitch rating is only as good as the overall package, so it's just one part of the whole entire equation. So make sure that when you're figuring out your weight and when you're figuring out what you're towing, that you make sure you do the whole equation, not just one part of the equation. You do have some storage on this particular model, so depending on your model, you may or may not have storage back here. It really depends on the floor plan. So the floor plan layout dictates where the storage is at. You also do have a ladder in the back here. So Why is the ladder on the back here? There's a couple of reasons. First of all, because you do have to do maintenance on your roof. So we want to make sure that there's a way that you can get up to the top and look around and do some maintenance. We don't recommend that people get up on the roof for any reason other than just to maintain the roof. We don't want you to go somewhere and go to the racetrack and put something up on the roof. You're going to ruin the roof potentially if you've got lawn chairs or you've got a bunch of shoes up there, because the roof is made to protect the inside of the vehicle. It's supposed to make up the entire structure. It's not a secondary patio area. So please stay off those roofs, and the ladder's there just for you to look around and make sure that you take care of your maintenance and you maintain the roof. But outside of that, let's stay off the ladder. On the driver's side, we've got all of our connections for our sewer area and for our freshwater connections. So on the back side here, you'll see on the other motorhome we looked at, the potable water fill was on the passenger side. On this motorhome is actually on the driver's side. So here's our potable water fill. Then also here's our city water connection. Now what's the difference? Filling up your potable water fills up the tank inside of your motorhome, and once you fill up the tank, you can use the water pump that's on board that we'll talk about here in a few minutes. That water pump will pump the water out of the tank through the system. So if you want to use your shower, you want to use your kitchen sink, your toilet, you've got water on board. There's also an option if you get to a campground or your home and you want to use a city water connection. So you can use a city water connection, which is a 3/4 inch garden hose connection. You can go just about any place online or at your local camping store and you can find a fresh water hose. So I'd recommend it's a white hose. It usually has a blue stripe on it. That is set up for drinking water. So not your normal hose that you just have connected to your house to water your bushes. Get a specific hose to go to this that you carry along with you, so know that you and your family are going to be safe with what you're putting your water through. So if you hook up this connection here, you don't have to use the water pump anymore. You use the pressurized side of the water that's incoming. So the pressurized water incoming will then now feed everything inside the vehicle. It'll feed to the hot water heater, your shower, your toilet, everything. So that way you can maintain the water that's in your tank. And then when you're done camping, you have the ability to disconnect the city water connection here, take that hose, and then put it inside here and make sure you fill your tank up, so when you leave and before you get to your next destination, you'll have plenty of water on board. There's also one other connection. There's another connection on the side that says Santee Flush. Santee Flush is what we call a black tank wash. Some people call it black water flush, black tank flush, tank flush. There's a whole list of names for it. But this right here, this is where you would use your regular garden hose. You wouldn't use your freshwater hose. So we don't use our freshwater hose on the Santee Flush. The Santee Flush is going to take, and it's going to take water, and it's going to have a high pressure stream that goes into your black tank. Now the black tank on a motorhome is the tank that takes all the solids that come from your toilet. So anything in the toilet goes to the black tank. The black tank is where all the solids, toilet paper, anything like that goes into that you'll dump out as you're done using the vehicle or you're at the campsite. And once you do that, sometimes there's residue left inside of there. And so to make sure that you get everything out of that tank completely, you'll use the Santa Flush here. You'll take your hose, you'll put it under the Santa Flush, you'll open up your black tank so you can drain it out. And of course you're draining that only into an approved area, a sewer connection at a campground, or maybe you have one at your home or at a service center. You're not dumping that out on the road. So anything in the black tank can't go out on the ground. Anything in the gray tank shouldn't go out on the ground either. You'll flush the tank. Maybe you're going to do it for 3 to 5 minutes. And what you're going to do is you're just taking and cleaning everything out of the tank to make sure that everything in there is going to make your leads that lead into the interior that tell you your tank levels, to make sure those are correct. So that's what you use the Santee Flush for, is to clean out that black tank. Speaking of black tanks, this is the area where the black tank and the gray tank come together. Now, the gray tank is all the gray water. Gray water is something that may come out of your sink, something that comes out of your shower. And then obviously, as we said, the black tank is where everything that's a solid that comes out of the toilet or a liquid that comes out of the toilet goes into. So the two tanks are tied together where you're actually going to dump. So depending on where it's located, you would find this area here, which is your wastewater holding and sewer outlet connection. And you can see we're going to take and we're going to hold this up. So when we're looking at the black and the gray tank, we want to look at how everything comes together. The gray tank has a gray handle on it and a black tank has a black handle. And when I say handles, what are these? These are pull valves that allow you to open the tank and actually dump it out. So before we get started, we have to make sure that we have our sewer hose. So that'd be something, once again, you'd buy at your favorite camping store, maybe buy at your dealership, maybe buy online. You want to buy a sewer drain or a sewer line, and it's usually 3 inches, and it's got a connector on the top of it that connects to this port right here. And if you kind of look, you can kind of see how this cap works. That's exactly how the sewer hose is going to work too. It's got a couple of knobs up here on the top. It allows you to screw on, and then you take your hose and you pull it out, and then you're going to put it in an area where you're going to dump it into the ground. Now, the way that we do this is we like to dump the black first and the gray second. So we want to make sure that we get all the solids and everything out, going down the line outside. And so how do we do that? We have our sewer hose connected. Once we have our sewer hose connected, we pull out or up depending on the location of your black tank. So you can see here, I'm going to take and I'm going to open the black tank by pulling up. If I were to look inside of here, I'd be able to see that the tank is open and that valve is open. So once I open the black tank, I let everything flow out. Once I see or don't hear anything coming out of the tank any longer, then I want to go and do the gray tank. So the gray tank is located right next to it. You'll be able to tell the difference between the two because there's a 3-inch hose or pipe that comes off of the black tank. There's an 1.5-inch pipe that comes off the gray tank. So once I drain everything out of here, everything is draining out, then I kind of do the same motion when I want to make sure that I'm closing everything back up, because I want to make sure that I go in and I close the black tank first, and then I finish up by closing the gray tank. Now, once I close those up, everything is cleaned out of there, except there's probably just a little bit left in this front pipe here. So with our sewer hose, we want to make sure we disconnect it, and then we come straight up with the sewer hose, so everything that's inside of that pipe will run down. It's at that point where if your motorhome is equipped with an outside shower, you might use that to actually rinse the hose out before you put it away. Or you might have a hose or something like that that's at the campground or at your location where you can just clean out everything inside of that hose. So the big deal there is to clean out the hose before you put it away. And then when we're all finished and everything is closed back up, we simply take our cap, we put our cap back in place, screw that on, and that protects anything that may be left in that pipe from coming out and just makes it more sanitary overall. When you've got to put fuel in the vehicle, you have to take and pay attention to exactly where the fuel fill is located. Unlike your vehicle where your gas gauge usually tells you exactly which side the fuel fill is on, that may not hold true on your motorhome. On your motorhome, it's kind of a one-size-fits-all. We get the chassis, and then once we get the chassis, depending on the layout of your floor plan, kind of dictates where the fuel fill will go. So it's always a good idea just to keep a note of exactly where your fuel fill is, so you don't have to worry about pulling into the gas station, realizing it's on the wrong side, and then starting back over and go from there. So fuel fill is there. And then another thing on the outside here is your electrical connection. So your electrical connection is how you plug your motorhome into the electrical grid. So this is, you don't want to run a generator, and you want to be plugged in, so you're camping, you want to have plenty of power, and there is an outlet on the outside of your motorhome, and this outlet is where you'll actually plug in the power cord. So we've got some other videos that show exactly how to plug in the power cord, and those will be part of that owner's resource page that's available on our website. So if you're a new owner, I definitely recommend that you go to our owner's resource page, which is under owners at the top header of our website, and sign up for your account. Because when you sign up for your account, now you're going to get all the pertinent information that you need for your vehicle, whether you're talking about quick start guides, whether you're talking about owner's manuals for the individual components, whether you're talking about schematics for your electrical, your plumbing. Those are going to be located in there. And if you have a motor home that's 2016 or newer, you are going to have a ton of information. And we're going to be working on possibly going back a few years too for some of you that may own a little bit older motor homes. So take a look at that video that shows you exactly what it is, and we'll put that link up in the video. A couple last things on the outside. You'll also notice that we've got LP and a generator on board. So we just talked about how you're going to get power from the electrical grid, but we also have power from the generator. But before we get to that, let's talk about the LP system. Your motorhome is equipped with an LP system, and of course the LP system does a few things. First of all, it runs your refrigerator, or it's part of the dual source of power from your refrigerator if you have a gas absorption refrigerator, water heater, furnace, and a cooktop or oven. All of those will be operated on LP gas. And of course, LP gas is just like what you use in your gas grill at home. It's not a big deal. You've got an onboard tank, and on this particular model, you can see that the tank is located in this area. So this area is where my tank is located. Now, this tank is set up specific for the floor plan. It could be, the size is specific to the floor plan. But this is one of those things where you really just take it to a location, whether you're talking about a U-Haul or a Ryder location, or maybe you have a local shop that does LP gas fill. You're just going to take it and get it filled up there. So when they fill it up, there's a couple of things. First of all, this is the fill. It's got a yellow cap on it, okay? This is where the person at the station is going to go. He's going to put in his LP line, and this is where he's going to fill it at. This valve right here is actually the valve that opens and closes the LP tank itself. You also have a bleed off valve right here. This is what the person who is actually filling your LP is actually going to look at, and he may open or close that, or she may open or close that to make sure that the tank is purged. Now, the first time that you're using this tank, they're going to have to purge the tank. We do not purge the tank here at Thor Motor Coach, so they're going to purge the tank, which means the first time you fill may take a little bit longer because they're going to have to take and make sure that all the air that's inside of the tank is removed so the LP gas can be added. So that could take a little bit longer, so just be aware of that when you go to fill up for the first time. The other thing that we also have to be aware of is when you should or shouldn't have the gas on. Obviously, if you're storing the coach, you should turn the gas off here at the valve to make sure that you don't have any LP running through it. It's just safer for you and your family. The other thing is too is when you're filling up with fuel. We always recommend that you turn off the LP whenever you're filling up gasoline or diesel fuel in the vehicle, just because we don't want you to accidentally try to use something or something spark, whether you're talking about your water heater firing, your furnace firing, when there's other fumes that could ignite. So make sure you turn off your LP when you actually go to fill fuel. There's also some regulations out there about LP as far as some tunnels and bridges go. So depending on where you're traveling, your state, make sure you're following up with your state or looking at the restrictions that are on different highways to make sure that when you're driving through, you don't have to worry about being illegal. The tank out here has its own valve. The valve is manual out here, but there'll also be something on the inside that'll show you what your LP level is, so you don't have to come out here every time to find out how much LP you have. And that's really all there is right here. And you can see on this particular one, it's got all the information about the tank itself, how big it is, and also exactly where it was made, so any of that information is open to you. And then last but not least, let's talk a little bit on the sidewall here about the generator. So this vehicle right here is equipped with a generator. Just about every vehicle that we build is going to have a generator. Now, depending if you have a gasoline powered or a diesel powered engine, that could determine whether you have a gasoline, an LP, or a diesel powered generator. This particular generator is an Onin QG4000. This is a gas powered generator. It's 4,000 watts. So that will give you enough power to run your air conditioner and everything else in the vehicle while you're using the vehicle or traveling. So when you're driving down the road, a lot of people ask these questions: could I use the generator? Should I use the generator? The answer is absolutely. If it's summertime and it's hot outside and you want to keep your vehicle cool, run the generator. The generator will run, the air conditioner will keep up, it'll keep the vehicle nice and cool. The same way as too is if you want to watch TV or some of those other things, run the generator. Too often we find people don't run the generator, which is actually bad for the generator because it sits too long and it gets gunked up and then you got to clean it. The other thing is too is that you paid a lot of money for this generator. Use it. It should be used at least as much as what the engine is going to be used if you want to enjoy your vehicle. This will allow you to have 110 volt receps, your air conditioner, your refrigerator will run off of it. You can save some LP for other things. So it's there, you've got it. It runs off your main fuel tank. So on a lot of vehicles in the Class C line, you're going to have 55 or 57 gallons of fuel, and it'll use 75% of that fuel until it gets down to the quarter tank, and at the quarter tank, it'll pretty much shut off because that'll leave the last quarter tank for you to be able to drive your vehicle somewhere to make sure you don't run out of fuel. So you got the generator, use it. It's very simple on the inside. We have a start button, we have a stop button. We have a prime that we'll talk about here in a minute, but you've got it, it's on board, use it, enjoy it. As we enter the motorhome, we want to take a look at the interior and see a few things that we'll definitely have to take notice of. First of all, we talked about earlier the battery switch. This is what that battery switch looks like. So you can see it's a rotary switch right here. It simply turns counterclockwise to off and it turns clockwise to on. And that's the switch we want to have on all the time to make sure that we're charging our batteries. And the only time we're going to turn that off is if we're not using the coach. If we're plugged into power, it stays on. Any other time we want to make sure we have power, that stays on. There's a few other things that you'll notice. First of all, in this layout, you can see that there is a 110 volt outlet here. This is GFI protected because it's in the kitchen area that you'll see. You'll also see here are your switches. So your switch is here for your awning, and that was what we put out a little bit earlier, your awning light, and then also a step light. So there is a light in the step well here that you can turn on so it lights up the ground where your feet are going to be located when you step outside the door. You have two other switches in here. These are interior light switches. So if I put this first switch, you can see the lights come on up on the ceiling, and then we also have some floor lighting that comes on, and that's what the other switch is. Below that, depending on your motorhome, you may have either stabilizer jacks, no jacks, or hydraulic leveling jacks. All three are available in different parts of the lineup, and we can show you another video that shows exactly how those work. This particular model has stabilizer jacks. Stabilizer jacks will allow you to take your vehicle and stabilize it from side to side, so when you walk around, it doesn't move from side to side. These are a pair of scissor jacks that are located in the back of the vehicle that go down to the ground and actually stabilize it. They're not set up to actually be able to level the coach. They're simply taking the place of blocks or manual jacks that you may have in the back to make it so the coach doesn't rock from side to side. On some of our larger models, 31, 32 footers, you could have hydraulic leveling jacks, either a standard optional. Those are fully automatic, and those are more or less one-touch operation. Those will actually stabilize but also level the coach, so you can make sure that everything in your vehicle is level. Usually we only put those on larger coaches because the coach is so much larger and because it does move around more. You also have your solar controller. Now, some motorhomes come standard with the solar controller, some do not. There's also other models that have the solar controller with a solar panel on top. If your vehicle is equipped with a solar controller, it is all set up to have a solar panel installed on the roof, if not already. All you need is a simple panel. You can actually go up and put a 100-watt panel up on the roof. It has a simple pair of MC4 connectors, so you can buy it online or your camping store or your dealership and put that up on the roof. The roof is backed for it, so you can actually screw it into the roof. It's got the connectors up there. This will allow you to charge your batteries. And this particular one right here is a 10 amp charger. It's a PWM version of a charger. And you can see here it's got a readout on here, and you want to make sure that you're set up to charge wet batteries. That's one thing you want to make sure of. You'll also be able to see your voltage, and you'll be able to see whether the battery is charging or not. On this particular model, because none of my lights are lit up here and it doesn't show charging, you can see that this model is prepped for it, and all I would have to do is add a solar panel to the roof and I would have solar charging on my vehicle. Another thing that you'll notice inside of this area, and you won't really be able to see it here in the video, but I'll talk a little bit about it, is that most of our house batteries are located in the stepwell area. The stepwell area has a lid on the top of it that allows you to actually open up where the batteries are, and it makes it real easy to access the batteries. So in many cases, you just simply take the clip that holds it in place, you flip it open, you pull the lid up and out, or in some cases it may be a flip up lid, and now you can access the top of your house batteries. And in some cases you'll have a single house battery, in other cases you'll have two house batteries. All the motorhomes are set up to at least allow you to put two house batteries in. So if you have one and you want to add another one, go for it, because it's all set up to do it. And these are 12 volt batteries, so they're a 12 volt deep cycle battery that we have on the Class C's here. So that's what you'd be replacing if you decide to replace or add batteries. So from here, let's move inside and take a look at a few more of the form features and some of the functions inside of the vehicle. Working our way inside the vehicle, there's a few other things we need to point out, and the main thing is we need to get to the control panel. So the control panel is what we need to look at to be able to control everything inside the vehicle. So on this particular model, you can see this is located near the entry door, but this could be located in the hallway, or it could be located back by your bathroom area, depending on the layout. You can see here there's a bunch of different things. So I've got some lights that are across the top here. I also have a Hobbs meter. I also have a start-stop switch, and then I've got some other things. So let's talk through each one of these. First of all, the lights. You can see they go from empty to full. On the empty to full, that is for all of our different tanks. So I've got LPG, I've got battery, I've got my fresh water tank, my black tank, and my gray tank. And at any time, I can push this button, and when I push that button, you can see the light that lights up above it. So we can see exactly where we're at. So right now, I've got 3 bars on my battery. And then as I go through, each one of these is probably going to read empty because this is a brand new motorhome and it's never actually been taken out. Here's where you can check all of them, and you can see how they read, and you can see when things go empty or full, so you can check everything from inside here. Also, this is where your generator start is located. Now, you can remotely start everything inside of the vehicle here, and there's a couple things you can do. First of all, you've got your start button, your stop button. The generator itself is set up where it could need to be primed. So when it's really cold outside, or when the vehicle maybe hasn't been running in a while, we need to prime the engine on the generator. So when I prime the engine, I'm going to try to heat up the generator, and I'm going to put fuel into the system, into the carburetor, so it'll start easier. So when I do that, when I have never started the generator before, I will take and I will hold the stop button. And when I hold the stop button, you can see that the light turns red. It'll be a solid red. That means that I'm priming the engine right now. Once I've held that for 3 to 4 seconds, I can let go, and then I can move and I can go to the start button. So I will take and I will hold the start button. The light will beep red until the generator is started. I want to take and hold that start button for about 3 or 4 seconds after that light goes solid, just to make sure that the thing is running. And then once that I'm sure it's running, I've held it for a few extra seconds, I let go of the switch, and now my generator is running. Now, just because the generator started running, it's going to take about 30 to 60 seconds for it to kick over to make sure there's actually power coming into the vehicle. As soon as you hear the microwave make a beep and you see all the 110 volt appliances come on board, like the air conditioner that just came on right now, that's when we know the generator is powering the vehicle. You'll also notice the Hobbs meter, which is right next to it. The Hobbs meter tells you exactly how many hours are on your generator, so you know what your service interval should be. So if you take a look at the owner's manual, you'll see exactly what you need to do as far as generator service. So let's go back here and turn the generator back off to make it a little bit quieter. I hold the stop button down. Now the generator is off. Now let's go down to this row of switches, and we'll start from right to left. The first 2 here are for your water heater. Now your water heater that's on board here, this particular one happens to be a tank water heater. It does have an electric element to it. It's a gas electric water heater. So I have 2 buttons. I can turn the power on, which is the 110 volt, or I can turn on the LP gas. We want to make sure that we turn on the LP gas, because LP gas is the way that we're going to start the water heater and run it as long as we have LP in the system. The 110 volt is there to maintain the system once you have 110 volt power. Now remember, the 110 volt only works in 2 ways. If you have generator power or if you're plugged into shore power. If you don't have either one of those, the 110 volt without the LP will do nothing. It will do nothing in the tank. The other thing is too, is that these are electric elements that are inside the tank. They take 2 to 3 times longer to heat the water than what the LP burner does. So to get your temperature in your water heater up to speed, we always start with LP, and then if we get somewhere with 110, we go with 110 to supplement the LP system. So 110 is never going to be your sole source if you want hot water. This also, in this panel, depending on your model, this also could have tank heaters. They would be very similar looking to what this is, except it would say tank heater. And those tank heaters are 12 volt pads that are connected to the fresh water tank or the black and the gray tank that allow you to keep the tanks from freezing when you use this in temperatures down to freezing. Now the Coach is set up to be able to use the 4 seasons. However, if you are a hardcore camper that likes to do camping in temperatures way below freezing, you're going to need to probably add additional heat pads or some insulation to the bottom of the Coach, because it is 4 season. It's not just super hard, rough winter season. So something to keep in mind. Most people don't camp that way, but if you are somebody that likes to do that, the opportunity exists. You're just going to have to add a few things yourself. The other thing that we have in here is the water pump and the slide room. Now, if your motorhome will come with a water pump, the water pump allows, when you're on your tank and you're using your potable water, it allows everything to run through the system. It allows you to turn on your sink or flush the toilet or take a shower. That's what the water pump is there for. We want to make sure that anytime we're traveling, we turn the water pump on. You can kind of hear in the background when you first turn the water pump on, it makes kind of a pumping noise as it's priming the system, getting ready to run. When you're connected to city water, you don't have to have the water pump running because the pressurization from the city water will actually push its way through the pipes. If you leave the water pump on, no big deal at all. It'll continue to run. It's just not something that you have to do. So you have the option to turn that off when you're on city water. You also have the slide room. Now, in 1997, when they created slide out rooms, this was a big feature because it drastically increases the overall living space of the vehicle. We use, on all of our Class C motorhomes, an electric rack system that has 2 racks or 3 racks that are located on the outside of the slide out room, and it's very simple. It's motors that simply roll the motorhome room out or roll the motorhome room in. It's really that simple. There's not a lot of valves or hydraulics or anything that goes into it. So in order to do that, we have to hold down our slide out room switch. Now there's a very important key to this. Whenever we're doing our slide out rooms, we want to make sure that our coach is as level as possible. So we make sure that the opening in the slide out room that is going in and out of the motorhome is level. We also want to make sure that we have good battery power because we're going to need battery power. We have to make sure that the engine is turned off. So the engine is turned off, key out of the ignition in order to run these slide out rooms. And then the last thing is that we want to run the slide out room the full cycle, all the way out or all the way in. We do not want to start and stop halfway in or halfway out. We always want to make sure it continues the cycle. So even if you can only take the slide out room out 6 inches or 8 inches, before you would pull that in, you want to make sure that you run the room all the way out and then all the way back in to make sure that the motors are synced on both sides. The other thing that we do is we make sure that we listen for the motors to sync themselves. The 2 motors sync themselves, and once we sync the 2 motors, then we'll be good to go. Let's put the slide out room out, and once we do that, I'll show you what to listen for when we put the slide out room all the way out. So we take our slide out button, you can see that you've got extend and retract, so let's hit the extend button. We're going to hold the button down. Let the room go all the way out, and once it goes all the way out, we're going to hold the button for about another 2 or 3 seconds, even though we know the room is all the way out, to allow us to make sure that the motors sync up with each other so we never have a problem getting the room in and out. And there might be a little cue at the end that you might be able to hear, and once you hear that, you'll know that the rooms have been synced. Don't know if you heard it right there at the end, but you kind of heard where the motors kind of stop, and then you heard a little reversal. So what we did there is we synced our motors. So the motors went out. One motor actually went out. It sounded like maybe a quarter turn further than the other one. So when the other one got out, it caught back up, and at the very end of the cycle, because you held that button down, the motors caught up with each other, and you kind of heard a little reverse sound. And so when we pull the room back in, we will hear the same kind of thing, and we want to make sure we hear that each time. So 2 to 3 seconds on the button, even when we think the room is all the way in. In the living space, there could be some convertible furniture that you're going to want to make into a sleeping area. So this booth dinette right here, you can see, is equipped with seat belts. So we have our seat belts, but we also have this dinette table. And so at nighttime, if I want to make this into a sleeping area, it's real simple to do that. First, I want to flip up the cushions that make up the seat. So if I take my cushions, flip them up and out of the way, I can take my table, and my table here has a latch that's located underneath, and that latch rotates down or rotates the other way back up, and if I rotate down, I unlock the table. Once I unlock the table, I'll go and take my hand and I'll put it in the center of the table, my other one guiding it on the outside, and I will push straight down. When I push straight down, now everything ends up being even. I can take my cushions here, and I will take my cushions and I will arrange them in a way that this will now make into my sleeping area. So I can take the back cushions, and usually we'll take the back cushions and put them in the center. Take my seating cushions, put them back where they were at, and now I can take these cushions here and I can install them in a way that everything fits in place. And now I've got a place where I can sleep. When I'm all finished and I want to put the bed back together and I want to have a dinette again, I simply pull the cushions back out, flip the bottom cushions up so I don't tear anything, take my table, start at the edge, lift it all the way back till it comes to the top spot, reach underneath, and I rotate that same handle to the point where it locks in place. Make sure that it's not going to fall down on me, and now I put all my cushions back into the place where they started, put my backs in, and at this time I can arrange my seat belts too, so I can put it where my seat belts line back up, coming through the cushions. And now I'm ready to go back on the road. So in the front of the motorhomes, you're going to have a cab over area. So the Class C's, that's what they're known for. You want a cab over area. It's sleeping, it's storage, it's whatever you can think of. But this is one of the things that people really like about the Class C's. So in this particular model, you can see we've got a few things. First of all, we've got our ladder. So this is the ladder that we've got right here. It stores up over the top, or it could store back in a storage area depending on your floor plan. I'm just going to kind of set that to the side for right now. And then I'm going to pull my cushion. So my cushion that I have set up here, this one actually has the child safety net on here. And so for some people that have small children, they like the safety net. And so I can take this this cushion here, and it just falls into place, and that makes up my area. So there's what the area looks like as far as the sleeping goes. On one side of the coach, you'll notice over here, you do have a flip-up area, which gives you some storage. There's also a couple of cup holders up there, so that's kind of a nice feature. So you actually have more area up there in the top. And then along with that storage area, you also have your TV located up here, which we'll talk about here in a second. But to access that, this is where our ladder comes into place. On this model here, we will take and we will feed the ladder just up underneath these hooks. And this is set up so you can climb up into the ladder, get up into your overhead, and then for those people that have children, some people like this safety layout where we could take and we can put the straps up here onto the ceiling. Once we hook it up into the ceiling, we pull, and then this is just something to make sure that people don't fall out of bed at night, which is just a little peace of mind for mom and dad or grandma and grandpa if they've got their kids or grandkids up top. There are some, this is an optional feature, so not every model will have this. And if you want to leave the hooks in place, you can, or keep them out of the way. Regardless, you've got both options. Also, you can see on our Class C's, you have an optional area here for some USB ports. So if you move over here to the driver's side, a couple of USB ports, a little storage here. So if you're somebody that wants to charge your cell phone, if you want to charge your tablet, if you've got remotes, that's one of the big things. What do you do with remotes when you're not using them? Hey, put them right here in this little storage area, and so now they're out of the way and easy to access. So from there, let's talk a little bit about media inside of the coach. So you do have hookups inside of this motorhome for you to be able to watch TV. So this motorhome has a TV antenna that's located up on the roof. That TV antenna on this particular model also has the WineGuard Connect 2.0 system. What's the WineGuard Connect system? The WineGuard Connect system is an internet hotspot. It's a 4G connection that you can sign up for a service plan, add it to your AT&T or Verizon plan. You can sign up and then you give yourself a hotspot. It's also a Wi-Fi connection. So if you go to a parking lot of a campground, or you're going through your favorite restaurant or your Starbucks where they've got Wi-Fi, you pull into the parking lot, you connect to their Wi-Fi, and then you can connect everything in your vehicle to the Wi-Fi. So that's the 2.0 system, and we've got some separate videos on exactly how you operate the 2.0 system, so you can easily get set up by just adding an app to your phone, connecting to the wireless system that's inside of your vehicle and go from there. And the wireless information, there's two places you're going to get it. You're going to be able to get the information for how to connect in your owner's manual, which we talked about earlier. And then there's also going to be a QR code up in the dash area that's going to have the information about yours. So you can just scan it with your phone, it'll take you, download the app, and you'll be able to get connected real quick. We do have a TV, obviously, that we see up here in the top. This TV is located on a bracket that articulates. So on that bracket, I can take and I can loosen up. There's two areas. There's one at the bottom, and then there's one at the top. And I want to loosen those both up. And when I loosen them both up, I can take and I can swing the TV out so it's easy to operate. And then I can take the TV and I can tighten it back up so that won't move. The other thing is that this TV is located where it has a switch, and that switch is connected to this bracket. And so on this, the TV comes out, and once the TV is out, anybody in this living area can watch this TV. And it's one of those safety precautions that we have, so the driver can't be watching TV if that's not in place going down the road. So we want everybody to be real safe when they're inside of their motorhome. So this TV could be out or it could be in when you're driving down the road. Because you've got seat belts there in the dinette, it makes it pretty nice that people could sit in the dinette and watch this TV. Now remember, the TV is 110 volts, so if you want to watch the TV going down the road, you're going to want to run that generator. Just one more reason that you can take that appliance that you've paid for and put it to use. The other thing is the TV here is all hooked up via HDMI, and there is an HDMI switch box that's located in this overhead compartment. Now there are some areas where some motorhomes, they'll be in a different area that could be above a refrigerator, but this area is where it's located. So if you have anything that you want to plug in, you can plug it in here. This is also how you get the signal from a satellite receiver, a Blu-ray player, a gaming system, or an iPad. If you want to get it to all the TVs in the vehicle, which would be the outside or the inside TVs, that's how you do it. But the one thing that I really want to point out that people need to know is that there is a panel up here that's got a small button on it. And that small button is a wind guard switch that actually powers the antenna. So we actually have to make sure that that switch is turned on, okay, to make sure that we have TV antenna. So you'll know that it's on because there's a little green light that comes on it. When that green light is illuminated, that means that you have an antenna signal, so you can actually program your TVs. If you want to use the park cable, so you go somewhere, you camp, you want to use their cable, there's an outlet that's on the outside, you can plug the cable in. You actually have to turn that off so the green light is off, because then that allows the signal from the cable to come through the coach and go to your TVs. So sometimes when people get to the campground, they think they're not getting cable. They just have to turn the antenna off, and once the antenna is turned off, then it's not amplifying the signal for the antenna over the cable. So something to keep in mind as you're using your vehicle. You also have space up here where you can get to the a satellite receiver or anything. If you were going to do that, you'd put it in here and then go straight up through the roof right there and install it up on the top. The kitchen inside of your motorhome is fully functioning, just like the one you might have at your house. So we've got a sink covers that go over the top, and it depends on the floor plan what you'll have. But you've got sink covers, you've got a stainless steel sink, you've got a single faucet, you've got pull down here. Also on this pull down, there's a couple of switches so you can make it a sprayer. So that's kind of a nice thing there in your kitchen area. Hot and cold. You've got your mini blind here, and of course your mini blind, to open it up, all you got to do is slide it up or pull it back down. And as you can see here, you've got some slider windows. Some models have slider windows and some models have jalousie windows, depending on which motorhome you buy. The slider windows, this is the lock. Simply slide the window from side to side. Jalousie windows have a little rotary knob here, and that rotary knob you just turn and open the window or close the window. If I put my sink holders back in place, I can point out a few other things. I can point out the cooktop. So some models, depending on which one that you buy, will have a cooktop only, which means you'll have a cooktop up on top, which is your 3-burner cooktop, but you won't have an oven, you'll just have extra storage. This particular model, the way it's spec'd out, has the range oven cook. It's got the cooktop and oven combination range, and then it also has a convection microwave. Now the standard microwave is just that, a standard microwave. It's about a 0.9 cubic foot. This particular one is convection. And what does a convection microwave get you? It gives you the ability to bake. So if you're somebody that likes to bake, if you want areas that you can do French fries or corn dogs, or some of those little fun foods that you just want to heat up quickly and you don't want to have to let the oven run and get up to temperature, the convection microwave could be a really good option for you. Otherwise, it operates just like a standard microwave. And remember, this is 110 volts, so run that generator or plug into power in order to operate that. On the cooktop, it does have a lid that pops up. So you have a lid that opens. The lid has 3 burners. So with these burners, the way that you operate this is that you will take and figure out which burner you want to go to. So I'm going to look at the back burner. I'm going to take and I'm going to turn it to the light mode. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to use this right here, which is the clicker that actually does the sparker. So it's the sparker, not the clicker. So it's the sparker which actually will help light the LP. Now this motorhome doesn't have LP in it, so it won't light, but that's what you do. So you would go to the little flame icon, which allows you to light, and then from there you can control your temperature. So you have 3 burners on this particular model, and then this particular model also has an oven. And as you can see here, you've got your small oven. It's got a tray on the inside, so you can actually take and put things in there. You can move the tray up or down, and that right here allows you to operate that. Now, this particular one, you can see has some lights on it, so you do have the ability, if you push the button up, that lights up the knobs. If you push the button down, that actually gives you a light that's inside of the oven. So you have that. Now the oven lights in the exact same fashion that the cooktop does. So here you would take it, you would turn it to the light mode, and then you would use your sparker to get that started. Once that starts, that'll run, and now you have your temperature setting. You can go from 350 up to a max, which is about 500 degrees. So you have that option in here, and then of course you have the light. You can turn the light on or off. The last thing you've got here is you've got another storage area under here. So made this look like it's part of the combination oven cooktop, but this is actually a storage area. So it kind of finishes off the way that whole entire thing looks. So storage area, oven, cooktop, microwave, all part of this. And then of course, you got a big window here to give you plenty of places where you can actually bring some fresh air in. Not to mention the fact that up above the kitchen area, we also have a 12-volt vent. So this vent is set up where you can open the vent, and once you open the vent, you can turn it on. And then that way, if you're running anything, you can, if you burn anything or anything starts to get smoky, you can turn on that vent, and when you open that vent, the power comes on and you're good to go. All right, as we take a look at our refrigerator, this is a Dometic version, so this is a gas absorption refrigerator. This or it could be a Dometic, or it could be a Thetford, or in some cases it may be a residential refrigerator. It really depends on models. On the gas absorption models, they work pretty much the same way. You've got your handle, which has got a lock on it. Then you also have a control that's located either at the top or in the center. On this particular one, you can see here I can turn on the power, and I have 2 options. I have auto, I have check, and what this more or less does is if I put it on auto, that means it's going to use gas or electric, whatever my source is, to run the refrigerator. Now, when you first get into the motorhome and you start it up for the first time, you want to take and you want to start the refrigerator at least 4 to 5 hours, if not overnight, before you actually get ready for your trip. This allows everything to cool down. It allows the freezer to get cold, the refrigerator to get cold, and that way, when you go to start putting your stuff inside the vehicle, everything is ready for you. So most of the time you want to take and just put this on auto, and you can see the auto light lights up. If not, if you leave it out, it's going to run on gas only, which means it'll never switch over to electric. So auto is your best bet. Let the system use its ability to figure out if it needs gas or electric. More or less that beep, because right now I don't have gas or electric, so it's giving me an alarm telling me, hey, you don't have either one. We need something. So I'm going to turn that off. You've got freezer space up on the top. You've got refrigerator space down here on the bottom. You've got a couple of drawers that are located in here. You've got some area. Also inside of this refrigerator, you're probably going to find the front shade that goes around the cockpit area. That's what this is. So if we look here, this is a shade that you attach inside the cockpit. And there's some Velcro tabs that are located up in the cockpit. You'll attach these to the Velcro tabs all the way around, so it blocks off your front windshield and it blocks off your 2 side windows. And we'll take a look on how to put that up here in a couple minutes. On this particular floor plan, right below the refrigerator is the area where the electrical, more or less, is converted inside the coach. So this is your converter. What does a converter do? A converter takes 110 volt power, it converts it to 12 volt power, and then it also runs everything inside the vehicle. So on this particular model, if I push on the top, it opens here. It gives me a layout of exactly what all the 110 volt breakers are and what all the 12 volt fuses are. So I can see here that I've got a layout of exactly what the 12 volts are, and as I work my way down here, I can see what the different amperage is here, and I can see what the different ones are. So whether I've got a water pump or left side, right side, rear, appliances, LP detector, all those are on 12 volt circuits. Then I also have breakers here for the 110 volt side, because remember, we're taking automotive and house and kind of combining them together. So I've got the converter, which is right here, receps, GFCI. Now that's a big one because this coach has GFCI outlets on it in the kitchen, the bathroom, and outside. Sometimes people will get into their vehicle, they'll plug into an electrical outlet in the kitchen or somewhere else in the coach that's on the GFI, and they'll really think that they don't have power. They'll think there's something wrong, a breaker's out. They'll come here, they'll look, they'll say, oh, nope, the breaker's not out. The first thing I would do is I would go into the bathroom and I would check the GFCI outlet in there to see if it has to be reset. 9 times out of 10, we hear from people that as soon as they reset that breaker, their outlets come back on and they're all good to go. So something to consider. Also, your microwave, it's on a 15 amp circuit, your AC is on a 20 amp circuit, and then you have your main breaker. So this is just like a mini version of what you have in your home. And that's all located in this area. Now this is going to be accessible no matter what, depending on your floor plan. It could be in the hallway, it could be in a dinette, or it could be back in the bedroom. Wherever we determine based on the floor plan is the best place that you can actually get to it and service it if you need to. And if you ever have a service tech looking for your converter, this is what you're looking for, is this area right here. So let's move from the converter and breakers here, and let's move into the bathroom area and talk a little bit about how an RV toilet operates. Inside the bathroom area here, this is a small 25 footer, so the bathroom is all contained in one. Obviously you have a sink. There is the GFI outlet that I talked about here in the bathroom. You've got your shower, and then you've got your toilet. Now, there's really nothing in this bathroom that's much different than what you have at home until we get to the toilet. So an RV toilet is a little bit different than a home toilet. First of all, it doesn't have a tank attached to it. It uses fresh water to take everything out of the bowl and put it into the holding tank. Now remember, this is the black holding tank area that it's going into. So the options is you can put your foot up where the flush is at, and the flush is located down and to the right at your foot level. You can take and push partway down on the handle. When you do, it'll start to fill the bowl up with water. Then, when the bowl fills up with enough water, you can take and push it down, and it all goes down into the tank. And now you've flushed, and you can let that back up, let the handle back up, so you're ready to use the toilet again. One of the things to mention also is that you have to use an RV rated toilet paper. Don't use your regular 14 ply Continental or Charmin toilet paper. If you do, you will clog up the tank quite quickly. You need to use something that is made for RVs or made for marine, because that's going to be something that dissolves pretty quickly and is very easy to get rid of out of a tank, because it's not going into a residential sewer system like you have at home. And then as far as that GFI outlet is concerned, you can see here, if I look at the GFI outlet, if it's popped, I can hear it, I can see that it's popped. So I can take and I can push in and I can do a test, or I can redo the circuit breaker here, and once I reset that, then all the outlets in the coach should work properly. Here you can see we've got a CO2 and LP detector. This is a combination detector. We want to make sure that every time we use the vehicle, we test this. There is a test button that you can depress here and make sure that the system is operating the way that it's supposed to, make sure that it has power, because we want you to be safe as you use your vehicle. We also have a smoke detector that's located up towards the front of the vehicle, which has a 9-volt battery that helps operate it. And you want to make sure that that 9-volt battery is in place and is good, and you want to test that also each time that you go. Because for us, we are only concerned about you and your utmost safety. All right, so we've talked about running the air conditioner while you're driving down the road. Well, here you go. Here's the air conditioner control right here. Now this could be in your hallway, it could be in your bedroom, it just depends on exactly what the floor plan is. But on this particular version, you can see that this has got your air conditioner and it's got your furnace control. So on this first set of switches here, if I go all the way to the right, I've got heat. If I go one step back, I turn off. Then I can go to fan, and then I can go to cool. And then I also, on the other switch that's on this side, I have the ability to go high or low or auto on and off. So you can set those right here. But the key to this is that when it comes to air conditioning, the air conditioner has the ability to cool the coach about 15 degrees below ambient temperature. What does that mean? If it's 90 degrees outside, the motorhome can most likely get you down to 75 degrees. If your motorhome is already 110 degrees on the inside because you haven't run the air conditioner all day, there is no way that the air conditioner can bring that motorhome down in a 4 to 6 hour period to anything less than 95 degrees. So you will sweat a lot inside of your motorhome. So how do we combat that? The first thing is that when we turn on our air conditioner, we start early in the morning. So turn on the air conditioner early in the morning, regardless if it's only 65 degrees out when you start, because as the temperature continually goes up, the air conditioner will continue to run to bring the temperature back down. The less it has to work to bring the temperature back down, the more efficient it'll be. The other thing is when we get up in the morning after the sun starts to come up, we want to make sure we start closing things like window blinds. We want to look at the number of times that we go in and out of the door. The air conditioner that's inside of this vehicle is set up to cool the vehicle when it starts off at a cool and then goes up. It's not set up to be able to start at a really high temperature and work its way down. What usually happens is on the thermostat here, you can see it goes up to 90 and goes down to about 55. More times than not, we have people that call in very upset about their air conditioning system, saying it's not working. It's 95 degrees, they're in Florida, it's high humidity, and they can't get it cool. They started trying to cool the coach at noon, where it's already 90 degrees at 90% humidity, and the temperature never comes down more than 5 or 10 degrees. Part of the reason is that they set the thermostat all the way to the bottom. They think they're going to take 40 degrees of temperature out of the vehicle, which is just impossible to do. So what they've done is they've turned that down, and now they've made their air conditioner work so hard that it's become frozen. So the coils and everything up on that roof are frozen, and now the only thing that's being pushed into the vehicle is hot air, because the condenser can't actually do its job and actually take hot air and convert it into cold air. So we're already got strike one. Strike two is it's going to take 6 hours to defrost that air conditioner to the point where it'll start running efficiently again. So now we have strike two, and then by the time we get to strike three, it's probably 10 o'clock at night and the air conditioning isn't needed as much. So then we start the whole cycle over the next day. So we get in the vehicle early. If we're using it, we set the air conditioner. If we know that it's 80 degrees outside, set it to 70. Leave it at 70 and let it run all day long at that 70 degrees. If it's already 90 outside, set your thermostat to 80. Once the temperature comes down to 80 and you're not having your air conditioner work the whole entire time, then you can slowly and methodically move that thermostat down. But if we start too high, we'll never get it low enough. So just a couple of tips there to make using the motorhome more enjoyable when you're out on the road. When it comes to heating, if we get to an area where there's heater, we talked about and we saw the heater that was on the outside of the vehicle. When you turn this to heat, it's not exactly the same way, because obviously the heat isn't really dependent, because it's just going to burn gas and put heat into the vehicle. But you'll use your thermostat switch the exact same way to turn your heat on and off. And as you can see there, when I turn it to heat, as soon as I move the thermostat, the fan kicks on the furnace and starts looking at what air it has to put in there. It'll soon find it doesn't need any heat because it's already 90-some degrees here in Indiana. This motorhome is equipped with a max air fan, or it could be a fantastic fan, but this particular model has the fan. This is a high capacity fan, and it's really nice because it allows you to have some white noise back here in the bedroom area, but it also allows you to exhaust some air out of the back. So when it's a little bit cooler outside and you want to bring some fresh air into your vehicle, you can open a window here in the bedroom area, and then you can simply turn this fan on. Now the nice thing about the fan is that it doesn't matter if you have the roof vent open or not. A lot of fans don't operate unless the roof vent is open, but on this particular max air fan, there's 4 settings. You'll see fan 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time I push the button, it increases the fan speed. So I can get to the point where if I want just some white noise as I sleep at night, great, turn it on and let it run. If I want to try to exhaust and get some heat out of my bedroom, I can take and I pull down on the handle. Once I pull down on the handle, I can take and rotate, open it up, and all of the units have vent covers on the outside. So that means regardless if it's raining outside, you can still have the vent open and not have to worry about rain coming inside of your vehicle, which is really nice, especially when you get to spring or fall weather. And then if you want to lock that in place so it doesn't move, you can push it up and put it into place. I want to put it back down, so I pull the handle back down, I rotate the handle back down. Now I've gone to kind of the interior mode again, and then I simply push the fan off. And this fan runs all off of 12 volts, so you don't need the generator running to run this one. So it kind of makes a nice little feature if you want to take and get some fresh air inside your bedroom. So in order to have some privacy up here in the cockpit area, all we have to do is add our cockpit shade. It's pretty simple. So we kind of start back here behind the driver's seat. We put in our first Velcro tab, and then we have little Velcro tabs that go all around the cockpit area here. And as you can see here, I can put my Velcro tabs up in here, and I continue to work my way around, all the way around the inside of here. And once I put that in place, I can take my mirror, or my visor that's here on the back side, kind of take and hold that in place. And now I have blocked this area off, and now I've got some privacy here in the front end, so when I'm camping, people just can't take a look on the inside. Well, we hope you enjoyed the quick walkthrough here of exactly how the motorhome works. We're hoping that if you have any questions, you'll go to that owner's resource site that's located on our website. We also hope that this gave you at least a little bit of information to get you started so that you can start off on your road trip or your camping adventure in the right way. Thanks for joining us.